World of Warcraft housing took the game by storm, and it doesn't seem as if Blizzard is stopping. In a new interview with PCGamer, we have a glimpse as to where housing is going to go, the new features set to be added, what they're keeping their eye out for, and what's coming not only in the short term, but also the long term. Hello, everybody. It's your boy Jmulls, and elf houses are on the way.
Will you stop touching me?
Blizzard has big plans for World of Warcraft's player housing, and you won't have to wait long to see what's next. This is a system that we're not just setting up to last for the launch of Midnight, but for years to come. Absolutely the right decision. I'll leave a link to this article in the description down below, but let's focus on the juicy tidbits. The 12.0 pre-patch comes out January 20th, and Hazakostas says we'll also be able to earn more housing experience, perks for the neighborhood, and a bunch of additional decor items, pushing the number well into 4 digits. You gotta remember, we're only in early access right now. We don't even have access to one of the principal ways to accrue XP and new decor items, which is endeavors. I'm personally really glad to see that housing has a good short-term and also long-term vision. And it indicates to me as a player that Blizzard has a firm grasp on this situation, and also a firm grasp on what they want this entire system to be and what they want it to become. To me, that's reassuring. A really cool addition is co-decorating of houses is on the roadmap. For like couples, or got a friend, or you just know someone that is way better at decorating and like customization than you are, or vice versa, if you want to help someone else out who's not like necessarily good when it comes to artistic stuff, you could have them just come in and like design for you. It's a really good idea. And then look at all of this. And bear in mind, this is for either after 12.0 or the expansion's launch on March 2nd. New decor items from Midnight's first set of raids. Drops specifically, with a guaranteed number of items from each boss that is decor. The count will scale with raid size, be personal loot, and include bad luck protection. Good across the board, just good ideas. New renown levels, extra housing XP earned before those go live will be applied to the new levels. He expects the housing journey to add 5 to 10 levels per major patch. One of the major things they talked about with housing before it actually came out was that they wanted it to feel like a new endgame progression system. That they wanted to be there, like raiding, like Mythic Plus dungeons, like PvP, now like Delves. They want housing to be available for an endgame progression loop, and that's what this screams to me, giving people a consistent new way to progress the house, and to give them more tools to be able to customize to their heart's content. And some of the ideas they talk about later in this article are truly amazing. Speaking of exterior rooms, which allow daylight and exterior scenes indoors in houses. What a great idea. I mean, I found workarounds to get rooms that like almost feel as if they're exterior, but it is a workaround, and just having like inbuilt rooms to emulate that feel is such a great addition to customization overall, and just gives the player more options. It's a smart decision, and it reads to me like Blizzard aren't just listening for community feedback. It feels like they're playing the game and they're just naturally coming to some of these decisions. That is such a breath of fresh air, especially if you're like me and you were around during that BFA and Shadowlands era of Blizzard. This feels like a borderline different company in all the right ways. This is a big one for a lot of people. Night Elf and Blood Elf exteriors to join the already existing Orc and Human flavors. Right, like I like both the Orc and the Human ones. I actually quite like the Orc one. At least when it comes to the interior, the outside for the Orc house, I'm kind of like here or there on. A lot of people are waiting for the Elf ones though. And when we eventually get around to almost certainly getting Elf neighborhoods, like maybe an Ashen Vale or an Eversong, I imagine it's gonna be quite a sizable chunk of the population that moves there. People just like elves. I like elves, to be fair. Generously sized medium home exteriors. Yeah, the exteriors for a lot of homes just feel very small to me. And like you can go up, but you don't get much acreage. Like, you know what I mean? Now, this is my horde house, and I love it, don't get me wrong, and I love the location. However, with the limitations, let's call it, on where I could actually put decor for my exterior, it feels rather cramped, especially for this plot, which is right here, where naturally it feels like I should have way more room to work with, right? Like it feels as if I should be able to build out maybe to like over here or get at least closer to the beach. So if they could find a way to give us more room to work with outside for the exteriors of our homes, I think that'd be greatly appreciated for owners of certain plots of real real estate. I understand some like plots are more cramped together. I get that, absolutely. Or they just operate a very small location, but having access to say medium-sized exteriors, and I'm assuming this isn't a lodge, and giving us more room to work with outside, I for one would greatly appreciate that.
Will you stop touching me?
Then a couple of ones that I'm like, yeah, this should absolutely come into the game at some point. More visible plot boundaries, at least while we're in edit mode. I can't tell you the number of times I just accidentally walked beyond my boundary and it ripped me out of edit mode. Interactive objects allowing players to hold a glass, a book, or play a game with the Diablo 4 expansion pre-order bonus chest said, huzzah. As we all know, we all love pre-order bonus stuff, especially for other games. I'm totally not doomer about that. However, holding a glass, a book, or play a game, that's cool. I am also of the opinion this game just needs more emotes and emote adjacent things and things like that are exactly, in my opinion, what this game needs alongside the continued improvements for housing. Also more subtle emotes, I think. A lot of them are very, let's say, theater kid exaggerated. Now some changes that may not be too far behind. Import and export of rooms, collections of objects, and perhaps entire houses are on the list. Good. I want to share my build with someone, Longdale says. Absolutely. I made my chair the exact right color and exact right size and the exact right orientation, and now I want 6 of them. Yeah, I don't know how we don't have that feature already, but again, for me, intention does matter. It feels like their hearts are in the right place when it comes to this. They're actively trying their best, and the output of what we're getting with housing is so good. If they just need time to work out how this stuff actually works behind the scenes, I'm more than willing to give them the time for it. Other items on the way: the limits to exterior decor will rise, and the current prohibition on exterior lighting will drop. Mounts and pets you've collected will be allowed to wander your home, though for hunter pets and player alt characters it's harder for technical reasons. Okay, sure. Now this is a really cool one. New decor items will also allow you to mimic other cultures and biomes inside and outside your house, including snow. That just gives people so much more tools in the proverbial toolbox to just be creative. We've already seen some people make absolutely wild stuff with what we already have, giving people even more multi-purpose decor. Sky's the limit. It really is. Flavor animations for some decor items where you click and something happens. Gave the example of a cauldron that would bubble. Cool. Kind of a minor one, and we kind of have this a little bit with some lighting elements. Hey, like turn them off or relight them. But still, more stuff like that, more customization. Thumbs up for me.
Will you stop touching me?
And now for some changes that aren't anytime soon, but they're keeping an eye out for. More nuanced neighborhood controls for leaders, but only if players want them. One small addition might be a permission for guild ranks that would allow guild leaders to determine whether characters can build a house in the guild neighborhood. Oh, now that would be funny. Like imagine you just do like basically no damage in a raid. You get demoted, right? And you lose the privilege to have your house in the neighborhood. Like imagine getting evicted by the guild leader. That would be crazy. But again, it's those little social elements that I think are so important to an MMO and so important to something like a housing system in an MMO. That creates stories, that creates memories. Maybe not all of them will be necessarily good, but it does create memories, and I think that's an important element for an MMO. Other additions in discussion, but not in progress: basement levels, which aren't currently possible due to technical limitations. Okay, sure. I don't really get why they wouldn't be possible, but if they're running into issues, they're running into issues. More communal spaces and event support. Examples given were Lap Track, a player-controlled ticketed play on a communal stage, large-scale role-playing events, or interactive Sleep No More style interactive narrative houses using interactive objects. Love hearing every word they're saying here basically is something that I like or that I appreciate. All of this sounds amazing, and it's such an important element for player housing. You have to allow the community to be able to create these events. I know some people scoff the whole idea of like RP and all that, but if you have a bunch of buddies or a bunch of people, let them be able to do cool and unique in-game things. What I would love to see with the Lap Track as well, bring the car system from Undermined into housing for that. Imagine being able to make your own like Mario Kart-esque courses throughout your entire neighborhood, and you can use your Goblin Hot Rod. That would be awesome. That would be so much fun. Player control ticketed play on a communal stage. I play Final Fantasy XIV as well. Community bands, community like theater productions, they can get really dang good. And if you're willing to give people the tools to be creative, they will find a way to be creative with them. And future neighborhood areas, either by expanding existing neighborhoods or creating new ones. Yeah, I feel like elf neighborhoods are like bound to happen at some point. There's no way they don't eventually do at least an Eversong neighborhood. I would be blown away if they don't do that. And when we get to like the last Titan, we go to Northrend, I mean, come on, they even say it right here. Grizzly Hills housing would be insane. I would love that. People would love that. Imagine being able to have your house with the Grizzly Hills theme song just blaring in the background. By the way, we need jukeboxes. Let us be able to select our own music and not require an add-on to do that. And another thing that I really like to hear, they're willing to listen to the community and say, hey, maybe we need to go in a different direction. The main example they bring up here is how housing items are individual purchases. They equate it to something like transmog. We can only wear one outfit at a time. And they're operating on the idea that duplicates don't mean as much. Decor is also more meaningful if you can't just paint 1,000 of an item. And how now at least, they're tweaking like the budgets for decor for individual items, the actual cost to buy on vendors and effort, and creating clusters of items that are less expensive, flagstone paths, for example, and clusters of plants. But they're willing to hear the community out. Because to me, that was one of my biggest sticking points leading up to housing. Because for me, you should just let people be creative as humanly possible. I don't think it like ruins the system or anything like that, but it's just like, is it a limitation that housing actually needs? I'm not convinced it does. But all our interviewees agree that for those decisions and for future features, players have been driving development. Love to hear that. There's very little that we would say you're not going to get it at all, as Acosta says. It really is about prioritization based on what we're seeing and hearing. I like how open they are about this. I like how it doesn't feel as if they're stuck in their ways about any given feature, because we know, especially if you were there back in the Shadowlands and BFA days, Blizzard could be weirdly stubborn about things that to like what felt like a lot of people were just obvious things that needed to be changed, and Blizzard would never change them. Whether that was a point of pride, whether they were just skeptical that they needed to be changed to begin with, whatever it was, Blizzard had the habit of digging their feet into something and refusing to budge on certain issues. The way they talk nowadays, way more up my alley. I think housing has easily been one of the coolest things they've ever added to the game. And I don't even think it's necessarily close. It's like, was it buggy on like day 1 and 2? Yeah, sure, but overall, they've really knocked this out of the park, and it's only early access.
Will you stop touching me?
You know, it's really nice to have a new feature added to WoW and there just not be that many downsides at all. Right? Like, that's a breath of fresh air if I've ever smelt one. And here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with what you would like to see most out of housing for the future. What would you like to see changed? What would you like to see added? I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your opinions, and to hear why it's a jukebox. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And speaking of long-term visions for WoW, people, we got a new prophecy. Tucked away in the Midnight beta is a scroll that you can find for the Haranir that, you guessed it, was a prophecy for every major event in the Warcraft story. Oh boy, let's talk about it. If you want to find out more, you should check out this video right here. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye, everybody. Until we meet again.